Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. Elliot and Kaiden had been inseparable since their early teens, bonding over a shared love of video games, comic books, and cheesy 80s action flicks. They were the kind of best friends who could communicate volumes with just a knowing glance or an inside joke muttered under their breath. Elliot was the more introspective and artistic of the two, always scribbling in a worn sketchbook or strumming absent-mindedly on an old acoustic guitar. He had a quiet, gentle demeanor, but a wickedly sarcastic sense of humor that could send Kaiden into fits of laughter. With shaggy brown hair that perpetually fell into his hazel eyes and a slim, slightly androgynous build, Elliot had a thoughtful, dreamy air about him. Kaiden, in contrast, was the quintessential jock, tall and muscular with a mop of dirty blonde hair, piercing blue eyes, and an easy, confident grin. He was the star quarterback, the homecoming king, the guy all the girls swooned over. But beneath the cocky exterior, he had a heart of gold, fiercely loyal to his friends and always ready to stand up for the underdog. Despite their differences, or perhaps because of them, Elliot and Kaiden just clicked. They brought out the best in each other. With Kaiden, Elliot could let his guard down and just be himself, free from the constant anxiety and self-doubt that plagued him. And Elliot had a way of getting Kaiden to slow down and really think about things, to look beyond the superficial trappings of high school popularity. It was a friendship that could weather any storm. Until the day Elliot realized he was living a lie. That the disconnect he'd always felt, the persistent feeling that something wasn't quite right, had a name. That he was, in fact, a girl trapped in a boy's body. The realization hit Elliot like a ton of bricks, leaving him reeling and gasping for air. It was as if a veil had been lifted, and suddenly everything made sense, the way he'd always envied the easy grace with which girls moved through the world. The secret thrill he got from borrowing his sister's clothes, the nagging discomfort he felt in his own skin. But with understanding came fear. Bone-deep, paralyzing fear of rejection, of losing everything and everyone he held dear. Especially Kaiden. God, the thought of losing Kaiden made Elliot feel physically ill. How could he possibly explain this to his aggressively heterosexual best friend? Kaiden, who probably didn't even know what the word transgender meant. Kaiden, who loved him like a brother. A brother, the word felt like a punch to the gut. Elliot agonized for weeks, months even, turning the situation over and over in his mind, rehearsing what he might say, playing out every possible scenario. He knew he couldn't keep living a lie, but the thought of coming out, of facing the world, and Kaiden as his true self, was utterly terrifying. Finally, on a crisp autumn day, as the two friends sat side by side on the bleachers watching the leaves turn shades of fire, Elliot found the courage to speak his truth. His voice shook and his hands trembled, but he forced the words out, not daring to meet Kaiden's eyes. "Kaid, there's something I need to tell you, something I've been struggling with for a long time. I think I'm trans. I know I was born male, but I've always felt like a girl inside, like I'm living in the wrong body. And I've decided I need to transition, to live as my true self, as a woman." The words hung heavy in the air between them. Elliot held his breath, bracing for the worst. But then he felt a strong hand on his shoulder, squeezing gently. He looked up to see Kaiden's face, not twisted in disgust or confusion, but soft with understanding and acceptance. "Elle, I'm not going to pretend I totally get it, but I know you, I trust you, and if this is who you really are, then I'm here for you, no matter what. You're my best friend, and nothing's ever going to change that." Relief crashed over Elliot like a wave, so intense it brought tears to his eyes. He fell into Kaiden's arms, sobbing and laughing all at once, feeling lighter than he had in years. With Kaiden's support, he knew he could face anything. The next few months passed in a whirlwind of changes. Elliot started seeing a therapist who specialized in gender identity issues. He began the process of legally changing his name to Freya. And slowly, day by day, he started living more authentically, letting his true self shine through. At first, the changes were subtle, a swipe of lip gloss here, a floral top there. But as Freya grew more comfortable, her style became increasingly feminine. She let her hair grow out into soft waves and started experimenting with makeup. She traded her baggy jeans and hoodies for figure-hugging dresses and delicate jewelry. And then there were the physical changes brought on by hormone replacement therapy. Freya's body softened and curved in all the right places. Her skin became smoother, her features more delicate. She even started to develop small breasts, much to her delight and amazement. Through it all, Kaiden was there watching it all. He went shopping with Freya, offering honest but kind opinions on outfits. He listened patiently as she gushed about the wonders of estrogen and the trials of tucking. He even started using her chosen name and pronouns without hesitation, slipping up only rarely. But as Freya blossomed into her true self, Kaiden found himself grappling with some confusing feelings of his own. He'd always thought of Elliot as a brother, but now, seeing her as Freya, he couldn't deny the stirrings of attraction. The way his heart raced when she laughed, the way his eyes lingered on the curve of her hips, the way he found himself wondering what it would be like to kiss her pouty lips. He felt guilty, like he was betraying their friendship somehow. But he couldn't help it. Freya was beautiful, inside and out, and the more time he spent with her, the harder it was to ignore the growing heat between them. Things finally came to a head one lazy Saturday afternoon as they lounged in Freya's room, flipping through magazines and arguing good-naturedly about the merits of different nail polish colors. Freya was wearing a strappy sundress that showed off her newly curvy figure, and Kaiden was finding it increasingly difficult to focus on anything else. Freya caught him staring and raised a perfectly arched eyebrow. "See something you like, Kaid?" Kaiden flushed and started to stammer out an apology, but Freya cut him off with a gentle hand on his arm. "Hey, it's okay. I'm not mad. Actually, I'm kind of flattered." She bit her lip, suddenly looking uncertain. "To be honest, I've been feeling it too. This thing between us. I didn't want to say anything because I was scared of ruining our friendship. But seeing the way you look at me, it makes me feel seen, desired, like a real woman." Kaiden swallowed hard, his heart hammering in his chest. "Freya, you are a real woman. The most beautiful, amazing woman I've ever known, and God, I want you so badly it hurts. But I don't want to screw this up. You mean too much to me." Freya's eyes sparkled with unshed tears. She reached up to cup Kaiden's face in her hands, her touch feather light. "You could never screw this up, Kaid. You're my rock, my safe place. And I think maybe we're meant to be more than friends." Slowly, giving him every chance to pull away, she leaned in and brushed her lips against his. It was a soft, chaste kiss, but it sent shivers racing down Kaiden's spine. He tangled his fingers in her silky hair and deepened the kiss, pouring all the longing and desire and love he felt into it. When they finally broke apart, they were both flushed and breathing hard. Freya rested her forehead against Kaiden's, a dazed smile playing about her kiss-swollen lips. "Wow, that was—" "Yeah," Kaiden grinned, feeling giddy and lightheaded. "Freya, I think I'm falling in love with you." Happy tears spilled down Freya's cheeks. "I'm falling in love with you too, Kaid. I think a part of me always has been." She captured his lips in another searing kiss, and Kaiden lost himself in the taste and feel of her. His best friend, his soulmate, his Freya. Kaiden and Freya's newfound love brought a giddy euphoria, but also a strange shyness. They'd known each other so intimately as friends, but this was uncharted territory. Kaiden found himself blushing at the brush of Freya's hand, his heart doing somersaults when she smiled at him just so. Freya, for her part, felt like she was floating, barely tethered to the earth. Kaiden's acceptance and love were the final missing pieces in the puzzle of her identity. They took things slow, savoring each new sensation and emotion. Lazy makeout sessions on Freya's bed that left them both breathless and aching for more. Long, late-night phone conversations that drifted from the philosophical to the utterly silly. Stolen kisses between classes, hands intertwined as they walked down the hall, not caring who saw. But as their relationship deepened, so did the challenges they faced. Not everyone was as accepting of Freya's transition as Kaiden. There were whispers and stares, cruel jokes scrawled on bathroom walls. Some of Kaiden's teammates made lewd comments, asking invasive questions about Freya's body that made Kaiden's blood boil. He got into more than one scuffle defending her honor, coming home with bruised knuckles and a split lip. Freya begged him not to put himself at risk, but Kaiden was adamant. "I'll always stand up for you, Frey, no matter what. You're my girl." Even some of their closest friends struggled to understand. Elliot's bandmates, who'd known him for years, slipped up constantly with pronouns and dead names. Kaiden's best friend on the team, a guy named Troy, just couldn't seem to wrap his head around the idea that Elliot was now Freya. "So what, you're like a chick now?" he asked, his brow furrowed in confusion. "But you still, have a thing down there, right?" Kaiden gritted his teeth, trying to keep his cool. "Her name is Freya, and what's in her pants is none of your damn business." Troy held up his hands in mock surrender. "Chill, bro, I'm just trying to understand, are you gay now?" Kaiden saw red. Before he could stop himself, he had Troy pinned against the lockers, his forearm pressed against the other boy's windpipe. "Don't you ever talk about my girlfriend like that again. She's a woman, period. And I'm attracted to her because she's Freya, because she's beautiful and brilliant and amazing. I don't give a what body parts she has. I love her for her. Got it?" Troy's eyes were wide with shock and a hint of fear. He nodded frantically, and Kaiden released him, stepping back and running a shaky hand through his hair. "Sorry, man. I can't stand anyone disrespecting Freya. She's been through enough." Troy rubbed at his throat, looking chastened. "No, I get it. I'm sorry. I'll do better, I swear." Freya, for her part, tried to let the hurtful words and ignorant questions roll off her back. She knew who she was, and she had Kaiden's unwavering love and support. That was enough, but some days were harder than others. Days when the dysphoria was so bad she could barely stand to look at herself in the mirror. Days when the testosterone in her system felt like poison, when the weight of societal expectations and gender norms felt suffocating. On those days, Kaiden was her rock. He held her as she cried, whispering words of love and affirmation. He helped her pick out outfits that made her feel beautiful and feminine. He even learned how to do a mean winged eyeliner just to see her smile. "How did I get so lucky?" Freya murmured one night as they lay tangled together in her narrow bed, spent and sated after an intense lovemaking session. Kaiden pressed a kiss to her sweat-dampened temple. "I'm the lucky one, babe. You're a goddamn miracle." Freya snuggled closer, listening to the steady thrum of Kaiden's heartbeat. "I never thought I could have this, you know? I spent so many years hating myself, feeling like a freak, like I was unlovable. But you see me, the real me, and you love me not in spite of who I am, but because of it." Kaiden tipped her chin up to look into her eyes, shining with tears in the moonlight. "Freya Evangeline Rose, you are the most lovable person on this planet. You're gorgeous and witty and kind and strong as hell. Your transness is just one beautiful facet of the incredible woman you are. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure you never doubt that." Freya surged up to kiss him, pouring all her gratitude and adoration into the press of her lips. They made love again, slow and sweet, mapping each other's bodies with reverent hands and worshipful mouths. As Freya drifted off to sleep in the circle of Kaiden's arms, she felt a bone-deep contentment settle over her. For the first time in her life, she was truly, completely happy in her own skin. She knew there would still be challenges ahead, but with Kaiden by her side, she felt ready to face anything. The next few weeks passed in a blissful haze of young love. Freya and Kaiden were inseparable, spending every spare minute together. They went on proper dates, to the movies, out for ice cream, even to a dance night at an all-ages club in the city. Freya relished getting dolled up for these occasions, spending hours perfecting her hair and makeup. She experimented with different styles, from vintage pin-up looks to edgy rocker chic. Kaiden always told her she looked beautiful no matter what, but she could see the extra heat in his gaze when she put in the effort. Their physical relationship was progressing too, growing more heated and exploratory with each encounter. Freya was constantly in awe of Kaiden's patience and attentiveness. As the school year drew to a close, Freya and Kaiden started making plans for the future. Kaiden had been scouted by several college football teams and was weighing his options carefully. Freya, meanwhile, was considering art schools, dreaming of honing her skills and making a career out of her passion. Wherever they ended up, they agreed they would face it together. The thought of being apart was simply unfathomable. They were a team, a unit, two halves of a whole. But first, they had one last summer in their sleepy hometown, one final hurrah before adulthood came calling. They made a bucket list of all the things they wanted to do: stargazing in the bed of Kaiden's pickup truck, skinny dipping in the moonlight, getting matching tattoos, much to their parents' chagrin. At the very top of the list, though, was attending Pride in the city as a couple. Freya had never been to a Pride celebration before, had always felt like an outsider looking in at a community she longed to be a part of. But now, with Kaiden by her side and a hard-won confidence in her identity, she was ready to dive in headfirst. The day of the parade dawned bright and clear, a perfect June morning. Freya woke up early, too excited to sleep. She slipped out of bed, leaving a softly snoring Kaiden sprawled across the mattress, and padded to the bathroom to start getting ready. She took her time with her makeup, going for a colorful, glittery look that matched the trans pride flag she planned to wear as a cape. She styled her hair in loose, beachy waves and donned a flowy white sundress that made her feel ethereal and feminine. When she emerged from the bathroom, Kaiden was awake and sitting up in bed, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. He took one look at Freya and let out a low whistle. "Damn, baby, you look incredible." Freya did a little twirl, feeling giddy and lighthearted.
"You think so? I want to make sure I look my best for my first Pride."
Kaiden got out of bed and pulled her into his arms, nuzzling her neck.
"You always look your best. But I know what you mean. Today's special."
He stepped back and reached for the clothes he'd laid out the night before, a pair of denim cutoffs and a tight white tank top that showed off his muscular arms and the dusting of hair on his chest. He topped the look off with a backward snapback, the trans pride colors emblazoned on the front. "How do I look?" he asked, striking an exaggerated pose. Freya giggled, feeling a surge of affection and desire. "Like the world's most supportive hot boyfriend." Kaiden waggled his eyebrows. "That's what I was going for." They took the train into the city, holding hands and exchanging excited grins the whole way. As they neared the parade route, the streets became more and more crowded, with people decked out in rainbow everything, waving flags and signs with slogans like "Love is love" and "Trans rights are human rights." Freya felt her heart swell with emotion at the sight. Here, among all this glorious queer energy, she felt truly seen and celebrated. Here she wasn't an anomaly or a curiosity. She was just another beautiful thread in a vast and vibrant tapestry. Kaiden squeezed her hand, sensing her feelings. "Welcome home, baby," he murmured. They found a spot along the barricades just as the parade was getting underway. Freya watched, transfixed, as a seemingly endless stream of floats and marchers passed by. There were drag queens in towering heels and glittering gowns, leather-clad bears on rumbling motorcycles, shirtless twinks with fairy wings and body glitter. And everywhere, people were dancing and laughing and kissing, unabashed in their joy and their love. When the trans contingent came into view, Freya felt tears spring to her eyes. She saw herself reflected in their proud, smiling faces, in the way they carried themselves with such grace and defiance. She cheered until her throat was raw, waving her flag high above her head. As the last of the marchers passed by, Kaiden turned to Freya with a mischievous grin. "What do you say we join in?" Freya's eyes widened. "Really? Is that allowed?" "Who cares? It's Pride, baby. Anything goes." Hand in hand, they hopped the barricade and melted into the crowd, letting the pounding music and the palpable sense of liberation carry them away. They danced and sang and shouted until they were breathless and glistening with sweat, high on life and love and the sheer, unmitigated joy of being exactly who they were meant to be. As the parade wound down and the revelers began to disperse, Kaiden pulled Freya close, wrapping his arms around her waist. "Have I told you lately how proud I am of you? How amazed I am by your strength and your courage?" Freya leaned into him, resting her head on his chest. "Only about 100 times. But I'll never get tired of hearing it." "Good, because I'll never get tired of saying it." He tipped her chin up and captured her lips in a searing kiss, right there in the middle of the street, surrounded by the whirling rainbow revelry of Pride. In that perfect, shimmering moment, Freya felt invincible. She knew there would still be struggles ahead, ignorance and intolerance and the everyday battles of being a trans woman in a world that wasn't always kind to people like her. But she also knew, with bone-deep certainty, that she could handle anything with Kaiden by her side. Their love was a shelter, a sanctuary, an unshakable foundation. Together, they would build a beautiful life, one that honored and celebrated every part of who they were. A life full of laughter and passion and unwavering devotion. A life, in short, that was everything Freya had ever dreamed of and more. As the sun began to set over the city skyline, painting the world in shades of gold and pink, Freya turned her face up to the sky and smiled. For the first time in her life, the future looked bright, boundless, and brimming with possibility. She was exactly where she was meant to be, who she was meant to be. And with Kaiden's hand in hers, she knew the best was yet to come. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Patreon for a lot more content and early access to YouTube videos.